All right, hello and welcome everyone to episode 71 of the GGG Podcast. I'm Paul, and joining me this week we have a special guest, Patrick. He recently went to GDC. We're happy to have you here, Patrick. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. So happy to be here on Triple G.
Yeah, Triple G, love it. And Phil joining me as always. Phil, how are you doing this week?
I'm doing it pretty good. I really like Triple G. Patrick, you've already contributed well above and beyond what most guests do, so thank you.
All right, perfect. Well, we got a great episode for you guys today. Lots of game releases this week. GDC just happened last week. We're going to be talking about it. And some good, interesting news coming out with some game updates as well. But before we get into that, if you haven't already liked and subscribed to our YouTube channel on YouTube, please do so. And if you're listening to the audio-only version on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, follow us over there as well. All right, before we get into things, I gotta know, what are you guys playing this week? We had Assassin's Creed come out last week. I've talked to both of you about it. Have both of you purchased Assassin's Creed? Are you playing it right now? What's going on?
I am. I wish I was playing it right now.
Are you?
I'm on the same boat. I'm doing Ubisoft Plus, so I'm like renting it from Ubisoft. But I'm gonna keep it for several months because this game is really good.
Right on. I haven't gotten a chance to play it yet. Are you guys having, Patrick? Are you having like a preference? Are you playing, more like classic Assassin's Creed with the more ninja-esque character, or are you going full samurai, Berserker, Yasuke? Like, do you guys have a character preference switching between the two?
I mean, I love Yasuke. Super cool character, and he's so fun to play. Like, he just can blast through doors and just destroy groups of enemies. But I'm a ninja guy at heart. I want to be climbing on rooftops and throwing daggers and slitting throats. So I've been playing mostly Naue.
Right on. And what about you, Phil?
I'm in the same boat. Yasuke is probably the character that in cutscenes I like a little bit more because I'm like, this dude's just so cool. He's just chill. Yeah. He's like a Japan's James Bond, which is
just
weird.
A badass.
He's just a badass.
So badass.
And Naue, though, like just moving as her feels amazing. I really enjoy her combat. It reminds me of like the old Assassin's Creed where you can get overwhelmed very easily. So you have to be like really paying attention. Mm-hmm. I just love it.
Right on.
So now
I saw that there was a setting that I didn't know was in the game where it's like you can turn on like assassination. So it doesn't do like the RPG thing of I'm trying to assassinate somebody, but he still has like 60% of his health or something like that. And I'm like, oh, if I can play like that, like classic Assassin's Creed, I'm in. Like I just want to do the jumpy double stabs and all that business. That's what I fell in love with. So
absolutely.
What about you, Pat? Are you playing anything else other than Assassin's Creed Shadows?
I was playing some Monster Hunter. Really enjoyed it for the most part. Rolled credits, started doing some in-game stuff, and then went to GDC, and then Shadows came out. So that's kind of where I've been.
I see. Okay. Yeah. And what about you, Phil? Anything else on the gaming docket?
Still Monster Hunter. I'm trying to like spread time between the children. You know what I mean? It's I love them both.
Yes.
And I want to be playing both of them at the same time. Like I want to find out what happens in Shadows, but I have to get my hunter rake up to be up there with my buddies. So it's kind of a tough spread. Too many good games. It's a terrible problem to have. I'll tell you what.
Right. Yeah.
Right on. I've kind of fallen off of Monster Hunter Wilds. We're going to talk about it a little bit later in the show because it's getting its first big update in about a week. So that's exciting. But I've fallen back into Helldivers, which I just have put way too many hours in. But yeah, with the Frontier Justice War Bond, I've been trying to unlock everything for that, and it's been fantastic. Really having a good time. And we recently got news that we might be going back to Malevelon Creek, which is horrifying. So yeah. And then I actually re-downloaded the finals this week because I was just like, I was running on fumes on Marvel Rivals. I was like, I need something else competitive to scratch this itch, and so I re-downloaded the finals and was reminded that my internet connection is just not stable enough for how precise I need to be in every moment. So yeah. But yeah, that
is why I love Marvel Rivals. It feels loose. It feels a little like it's still fun. Feels a little loose.
Yeah.
There's some leeway there.
Yeah, a little leeway. The servers on the finals not as good as Marvel Rivals. So yeah. All right. Well, let's get into our major game releases this week. We got 3 games on the lineup. Atomfall is the first one. Phil and I have talked about this game in some previous episodes, but yes, getting pretty stable reviews. The embargo was lifted last week. Getting a lot of 7s and 8s. I haven't seen any 9s out there, but it definitely seems like one of those games that if post-apocalyptic, not survival, but I guess gather what you can, put together what you can, fight the zombie mutated monster outside of the settlement. If that's your vibe, this is definitely the game for you. And if you're a Fallout lover and you've been starved, you haven't gotten any you haven't played Fallout since Fallout 4, can't stand Fallout 76, Atomfall is going to be right up your alley. So I'm happy that it's getting pretty good reviews, but probably not a game personally I'm going to be picking up unless it comes to Game Pass or something like that. How are you guys?
Well, I've got good news for you, Paul, because it's coming to Game Pass.
Ooh, is it coming?
Right.
Is it a day one Game Pass game?
I believe it is day one. Okay. Yeah, you can get it now on Game Pass if you do the upgrade, from what I understand. But otherwise, it is coming the 27th. So in 2 days, if you don't want to pay an extra $20 to play it.
Yeah, that's probably where I'm at. What about you, Patrick? Have you seen Atomfall at all? Have any impressions of it?
It looks really interesting. I'm very curious about what sort of RPG elements are, how deep it really gets, because for me, I like Fallout a lot, but a lot of it is I like all the talking,
right? The narrative stuff.
Yeah, that part's my favorite part. So I'm curious what that's going to be like in the game. The combat looks interesting. I think the world looks really great. I think the way they design everything, it looks pretty cool. But I have Game Pass, so I'll probably check it out.
Yeah,
right. It's here's hoping it is kind of one of those Fallout games that is a better Fallout game than made by Bethesda, like New Vegas. Famously, Obsidian really got the social and story-changing elements of that game right. Mm-hmm. And since then, we've only had Fallout 4 and 76.
And Starfield. We're going to pretend I didn't
Space out.
All right, next up on our major releases, the first Berserker, Khazan, is coming out this week for those Souls-like players out there. This is a pretty good Souls-like. It's getting pretty decent reviews, and people have been raving about specifically the gameplay. I think that most reviews that have come out and talked about its other elements, like its story, it's kind of an afterthought, kind of like that. But the gameplay feels really good. And something that I didn't know about this game is that there are only 3 weapons in the game, or I guess styles of weapons. So there's the big sword you can dual wield, and then there's a spear, and those are the 3 disciplines. And I have to say, as someone who's not a big Souls fan, I kind of like that, because to me that means you can really refine the gameplay of those 3 weapons. Kind of like in the sense of God of War, it's you have the axe, and you got the swords, and you got the spear, and so you can really get good, and as you progress through the game, you work on that upgrade tree, you unlock new moves. So I like that about the first Berserker, Khazan. So definitely something that wasn't on my radar and now is. Are you guys, Patrick, are you a Souls player? Elden Ring, float your boat? Yeah.
I really enjoy the From Software games, and some of the Team Ninja Souls likes, but I don't know, this one just hasn't grabbed me yet. When the was the Game Awards announcement for whatever, I don't know, I fell asleep or something. It just like washed over me. Like I just could not grasp its glory. But I don't know. I like what you're talking. I like how it sounds.
Yeah. All right. What about you, Phil?
I think it seems fun. It seems like a cross between, from what I've read, Neo, which I really enjoyed as a Souls-like, and that was one where you had like a couple different weapon types, but you really kind of learned how to master them. A cross between that and Sekiro, because it's very counter-heavy, but it is based in like a universe. I think it's Dungeon and Fighter, so like an MMO universe. It's all this game stuff. I just think right now I could not be bothered to play another Souls like. I'm having too much fun killing monsters and assassinating human monsters.
Yeah. Wow. Very Geralt.
Timing seems not ideal for their release to me, but
yeah, it's a pretty crowded like 3 weeks right here. I don't know what they were thinking with
Atomfall makes a bit more sense. It is very different than like everything we have right now, but the first Berserker is kind of just like solidly in this same action RPG zone, and we're kind of rich over here.
Yeah. Well, a game that will not have to worry about fighting for that market share is inZOI, which is also coming out this week. And I just looked up, I just found an article saying it was the most wishlist game on Steam out of any other game on Steam. It is number 1. For those of you who do not know what inZOI is, it is kind of a life simulator, a sim-like game. Phil and I have talked about it on the podcast before. I have been wanting a rival of The Sims to release because just Maxis and EA, they don't want to make a new Sims game for whatever reason. They just want to continue to charge you for cosmetic packs so you can have a poodle because it didn't come in the pet pack for whatever reason, and that kind of stuff. So I'm very upset about Sims. I'm excited about this, but early reviews have kind of been lukewarm about it, saying that the world isn't really fleshed out. It feels a little bit empty, but I gotta tell you, the game looks great, and I think that's half the battle with this genre. What do you guys think about inZOI?
I mean, I was never a big Sims person. Like, I was the guy that was immediately trying to figure out ways to kill my Sims. But I think just, making it look good and having a world that's, like, functional is really all that matters in these games. Because, like, the fun and, like, the things you're going to remember are the stories you're making as you play the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the idea of this, like, oh, it's not fleshed out or whatever, I don't know. It's like you're going to flesh it out yourself when you play it.
Yeah, you're going to project.
Yeah, exactly.
What about you, Phil? What do you think?
I think that this game is going to review not well, like we're seeing. It's going to review middle of the road, and then people are going to absolutely eat this game up. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I think the Sims generation of people are going to see a game that looks like The Sims but a lot prettier, and they're gonna make the fun themselves, like you were saying, Patrick. Yeah, I just think there's too many people who like have a gaping hole where The Sims was in their gamer heart.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know.
I think people are so hungry for it that it doesn't really matter if it's good or not.
Yeah.
The best way to murder Sims, I liked fireworks and a room full of rocking chairs, no doors.
Classic.
Quite the show. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I'm excited to see how it does. My partner might pick this up, so I might just snoop over her shoulder and look at some gameplay myself. But yeah, I'm curious how it eats into the Sims market and if it lights a little bit of a fire under their ass to make Sims 5. Maybe. We'll see.
Right.
So
one thing I'm curious about this game is like what extent they're using their like artificial intelligence stuff.
Yeah. I do know that they've used AI in its development. But yeah, I really don't know. I think it is a Chinese company, unless let me double check on that.
Because with the Sims, it's like where they're talking in like Simlish or whatever. And
yeah.
I'm curious because like these characters are supposed to be a bit more like fleshed out through the AI, I think.
Yeah.
Like they're just going to be more responsive that way.
Yeah, I don't know. It could be like they're speaking English and it's like AI voiceover or something like that.
Right.
Which I would absolutely hate. I'd much rather them speak gibberish. But yeah, we're gonna have to see. It comes out in just a few days, so probably next week when I get to see some footage of the game actually happening, I will chime back in and let you know what my thoughts are on that one. All right, but let's get into the news. All right, Microsoft, as they continue to not push the Xbox, they are releasing Indiana Jones.
I think they're pushing it.
What's an
Off of
Xbox?
What is an Xbox? Soon to be a Steam machine.
It is formerly known as a box, an Xbox. No more consoles.
But yes, Indiana Jones, that just released a few months ago, is going to be coming to PlayStation 5, and it got an official release date for April 17th. So for those PS5 gamers who were just like, God, I really need to play Indiana Jones, and I really need to play it on PlayStation, now you will have the opportunity to do so. So congratulations.
All 6 of you.
I'm glad more people are going to get to play that game. I played it on PC on Game Pass, and I really enjoyed it. So I'm glad it's going to be more widely available.
Yeah, I saw the, I don't know if you guys saw the Nolan North and Troy Baker commercial that they did for this release. Did you guys?
No, I missed that.
No, Phil, did you see this?
I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah. So what happens, Patrick, is it's Nolan North clearly referencing that he's been the star of Uncharted, and
right.
He's like, oh, okay, so you need and Troy Baker's like talking like he's Indiana Jones, and he's like, and so now I have something to give you, and it's that he's coming to PlayStation or something like that. So it's a fun little ad. Check it out if you have a chance.
Will do.
So, but yeah, always good that people are going to get to play this game if they hadn't had the opportunity before. I always think, like, in my spoiled self, I'm like, I have a gaming PC. I can play any Xbox game because I have a gaming PC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do we think that this means Elder Scrolls 6 is a lock for PlayStation or PlayStation 8 whenever that's going to come out?
Everything is a lock.
Yeah.
It's like maybe they'll do
not at launch, but
yeah, they'll do staggered release, something like that. They'll make you pay for some DLC pack that was free on Xbox, but you got to pay for it on PlayStation. That kind of stuff. So it's just
I don't think they can afford to not put it on PlayStation.
Yeah,
that's yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I just we've talked a lot about on the podcast, Patrick, of just how much Xbox has just been giving up on their own machine, which has kind of been disappointing because I liked the competition and because I feel like it drives companies to do better and whatnot, or at least that's the capitalistic theory. But yeah, so I've been a little.
But yeah, the war is over.
The war is over.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right. Pressing right along. So the Nemesis system, made famous in Lord of the Rings.
R.I.P.
Yeah. Lord of the Rings in general. I don't know if you guys saw that animated movie. Was not good. So, I watched it when I was sick. I hated it so bad. Although I will say I was surprised Gimli was in it. He was one of the voice actors in the show, so that was nice.
Oh, that's fun.
But yes, the Nemesis system that is from Shadow of Mordor and the War for what are the two subtitles for that? Phil, you love these games.
Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War.
Okay, Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War. The famous system that if you killed an orc leader and then you realize, oh, he wasn't dead, he comes back and he has a memory of you, and you build kind of this relationship with these orcs. So that system, turns out it was originally designed in order to stop resales of their game. People at the company realized that when they were making the Batman games, the Arkham games, that they had more players that were playing their game than copies that they actually sold of the game. And that's because after people finished the campaign, they took it back to GameStop. GameStop would resell it. The company wouldn't see any of the profit. And so they wanted people to hang on to their copies of Shadow of War, Shadow of Mordor. And so they made a really kick-ass system in order to give the game like long legs, longevity for a while. And I think that really worked. And I mean, it's amazing that a system like that came from that, because I really wanted to see it. And also, sorry, I know I'm talking a lot. One more tiny little detail about it is that the Wonder Woman game that was recently canceled was actually going to feature the Nemesis system. So that is very disappointing. And you were actually going to be able to build relationships through the Nemesis system with the NPCs in the game. So bummer on that one.
Yeah, it's a huge loss.
Yeah, building a game that is replayable so people don't trade it in is I understand hard for indie developers, but when you've got Warner Brothers money, yeah, do that. Just spend the time. Don't add microtransactions. Just give us cool systems. Or if you were Warner Brothers, take the Nemesis system and put it in everything else you make, because that's what we really like. I know that was Monolith and not all of Warner Brothers, but that said, it would have been perfect in a Batman game where you were seeing other criminals rise up and become new enemies.
I still can't believe that they didn't get to do that. I know that they talked about it at one point, but I think maybe the greatest mistake ever was not just taking that system and putting it in a Batman game and then doing the Suicide Squad game that they did. I think that is literally why they are where they are at now.
Yeah, absolutely. They're like, we made this great system. Let's make a live service game because the Avengers.
Yeah, let's never use it.
Oh my god!
It's an incredible and super complicated narrative system, and it makes for some of the coolest moments when you're playing a game that is by and large fairly repetitive, but I mean, that's what good game narrative does, is it takes the thing that you're doing over and over again and refreshes it so it feels like you're always doing something new and cool. And that system did it so well that I'm really devastated that it's locked out. You can't, no one else can use it.
It's absolutely sucks. And just going off of what you were saying, Patrick, it's just, there's lots of games that are able to achieve the I have an effect on the environment. There's lots of games that use I'm restoring the world, I'm bringing back nature, or I get to build my base and that's how I'm affecting the environment. But so few games, unless you're it's a very heavy narrative RPG, you're actually affecting characters and personalities, and in the Nemesis system, it's you're creating characters almost, pretty much, or at least I know that's not exactly how it works, but it feels that way to the player. It's it's you're creating your own Powerplex for Invincible fans out there. And that was so satisfying. I really hope that they put it in a Batman game, but I don't see that happening anytime soon, unfortunately.
I definitely remember in those games, specifically Shadow of War, letting an orc kill me so that he could become a general just because I liked his look, and then letting him kill me a couple times so he became really strong, and then recruiting him because it's a bummer that's locked away, and it is I remember playing that for the first time thinking is this AI in games? Are they coming up with new stuff on the run? That long ago, it was so impressive that it felt like magic.
Yeah, really, really did. So
yeah, I mean, it still feels like magic. I remember, I wanted this orc that was a bard type. He would play songs and stuff.
I found one of those. Yeah,
I'd be I gotta let him kill me so he can rise up the ranks. I want a singer leading this army.
Want a hype man?
Yeah, exactly. Just stand there in front of the castle before you take it over with you. Oh my god, that would be great.
That's rad.
It is rad. One game that I think is going to be so rad, one of my probably most anticipated games of this year, short of Grand Theft Auto 6 finally releasing, is Dune Awakening.
We'll see.
We'll see. So Dune Awakening, it's going to be coming out in May to PC and then Xbox and PlayStation a little bit after that. But we got some good details prior to that release, including pricing. And this is something that I was really excited to learn, is that the standard edition is only going to be priced at $50. It is going to be a survival MMO, but there is not going to be any sort of monthly subscription or anything like that. So that fills my heart with joy. I'm happy to give a game company more money. Give me an update to give you more money. Give me DLC packs. Give me Helldivers War Bonds, and I will pay. But yeah, it's awesome that it's releasing at that $50 price point. There are some other editions, the deluxe edition, which is $70, and the ultimate edition, which is $90. You can get early access with those, as well as like it come with the season's pass and whatnot, which is like, you get to decorate your little Arrakis base with some fancy fine furniture over here, and you get the still suit from the movie that Paul Atreides wears and all that stuff. But then we also got some PC requirements, which I was happy to see that the minimum requirements are not ridiculous. Like a lot of games that we've been seeing, turns out if you have a GeForce 1060, you can run the game, which is one of the most common graphics cards out there. So that's good to know. Phil and I have talked about this game quite a bit. Patrick, have you heard anything about this game, Dune Awakening? Are you excited at all? Are you a Doom fan? Yeah.
I love Dune. I read the books like back, I don't know, ages ago, and loved the movies recently. And yeah, some of my friends, we were excited for this game to come out and play together. I'm a little concerned for it just because so much of it sounds too good to be true right now.
Sure. Yeah.
It looks good. The price point is reasonable. Their plan for the future makes sense. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like,
where's the fool's
something's
gold?
wrong here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where's the suit jumping in to ruin everything? You know, some executive coming in to fuck it all up. So, very excited, but a little trepidatious, a little concerned that it's not going to shine the way it deserves to. I was shocked when they said it was going to be out 1.0 in May. I was like, okay.
Yeah, this game has had the biggest vaporware energy that I've ever seen. It's like, it just felt like all of the cinematics that they showed us were very beautiful looking, and the sort of conceptual gameplay from about a year ago was, wow, this looks really, really good, and this kind of is coming out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. And to see that it's actually launching, I think I'm on the same page with you, Patrick, that this game seems, I really got to see people I know get their hands on it and play it, just see it in action, because it does seem how did you make a full MMO that I don't have to pay for,
Right.
Where are the cracks here? Where or maybe they're just an amazing team and they figured it out. That's what I hope. I really want to pilot an ornithopter, so let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a huge survival crafting game guy. Love them, and so getting a survival crafting game that isn't cartoony and it's based on a franchise that I really love. I want it to be good so bad. There is more footage that's coming out because there is a private alpha that people are in right now. So I actually got to see some leaked footage of how the worms work. So that was really, really cool. Because if you're futzing around on the grass or on the sand, excuse me, you can actually see the worm spawn and then come after you. And
cool.
And if you ever are killed by a worm, you can't pick up your equipment or anything like that. It's just gone. It's just gone.
Yeah.
It's just gone.
You're swallowed.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So that's very, very appropriate for Dune. Very nice.
If you think about it, Dune would be the perfect game for the Nemesis system because Paul Atreides is basically a nemesis.
Sure. But everyone's Paul Atreides in this game. That's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm
true.
curious how it's gonna work too, because there are story components.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's like a campaign of sorts that you're like moving through. And I'm always curious how they do that when it's like when it's a game like this where it's like we're all surviving together, but we're all the hero somehow. Like
classic MMO story structure. You're
Yeah.
the special one, not the other 20 people in the lobby. You are.
Yeah.
Not the other 5 people clipping into each other talking to the mission giver.
Yeah. That
with
already did what
amazing
you were
armor.
about to do.
Yeah.
I guess what's like been promising about that for me is because it feels a little like EVE Online-y, where there's all these houses. Like obviously you have the Harkonnen and the Atreides, but there's other houses that are supposedly in the game, and it's about like, oh, when you join said house, you have to like fight each other and whatnot, and there'll be certain points where like Atreides has control of the map, and Harkonnen has control of the map. Or
Do
stuff
we
like that.
know like how many people are going to be in like a single like server, like play space?
I don't think they've talked about that. My theory is that are you familiar with the game V Rising?
Yes. Yeah.
I think it's going to be something like that, where it's a MMO, but it's not really. It's more like 20 people are in the server.
Right. The scale's much smaller. There's
Yeah.
a clear through line of like progression.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
Also they did say that like the map, like every I think week or 2 weeks, there's like this big sandstorm and it resets the map. Where like sand will go up and like cover ruins one week, but then it'll go down and reveal ruins another week, and maybe there's some resource there that your house wants to fight over. And so it's a good way to prevent one faction from dominating the entire time. So I don't know. We're gonna have to see when it comes out. I'm super stoked about it. But
looking forward to it.
I hear you guys' concerns. Definitely hear you guys' concerns about it.
Been burned before.
Yeah, it's true. All right, Phil, you added this story. What's going on with Game Informer?
Well, Game Informer, if you've ever pre-ordered a game and joined the GameStop Insider program, you have had many of these magazines float around your house. But Game Informer went away in summer of 2024. Kind of a bummer because they were one of the last print media versions of a video game magazine, which I feel like all of us millennials have memories of, like, reading Nintendo Power or getting a disc out of the PlayStation
Underground
magazine. And,
oh my god.
Yeah. Or going to the library and just flipping through and be like, ooh, new Donkey Kong. But they are back. They have been purchased by a studio called Gunzilla Games. They've rehired all the old staff, and they seem to want to have them keep their independence. Additionally, they're going to be coming back with a print magazine, but I think their initial thing that they came back with immediately was their 2024 Game of the Year, which I don't see here, so I'll have to do a little bit more research on that. That said, very exciting for those of us who love games media, because it's definitely felt weird over the past couple years. I feel like even IGN, like, you go there and it's a little bit more ads than it is
information
coverage. Yeah.
This new sale on Amazon.
Media is struggling big time, so it's good to see it's good to get a win here.
And it's really cool that they hired the former staffers. That's great that those people were able to get their jobs back, and I guess we'll really know if they're biased or not when Gunzilla Games releases a game and see what that review is like. But but that's fine. At least they weren't bought like by Disney or something like that. So
true.
So cool. Short story. Patrick, do you have any thoughts on Game Informer coming back? You said Game Informer wasn't your gaming magazine. Which?
I did read it. I was more of an electronic gaming monthly guy.
EGM,
but they're kind of coming back a little bit too. They're doing a big Kickstarter thing where they're releasing this thing called the EGM Compendium, which is like a collection of like first of all the magazines that they ever released coming out digitally, which will be fun to just like pick through and stuff. And anyway, just excited to see game media getting a win. I know a lot of people that work in that space, and it's been a struggle for them. So, I want to see gaming journalism thrive.
Right on. So do we. Yes. Were you going to say something, Phil?
Yeah, I definitely feel like it's a conversation that I always find interesting is like preservation and old games sometimes becoming unavailable. But not only that, I feel like these different magazines and news outlets kind of help ingrain where those games exist in the cultural moment when they come out, and that is a very, very good thing to just be able to access, like the compendium, or seeing like the old stuff from Game Informer come back. It's just nice. I'm happy to see it. I don't want a memory hole playing the original Super Mario Brothers and what that whole moment was like.
Yeah, you want to be able to reference something when you're talking to your grandkids about it.
Mm-hmm.
When I was young.
It's good to have that context,
Yeah, absolutely. All right, pressing right along. Monster Hunter Wilds. We had a big showcase for it this morning. Morning of recording. So we got the first update details, but kind of they laid out what they're going to be doing through April and through May as far as updates. But the one update that's coming first on April 4th, it releases some big things I've been missing from the game, starting with the game hub, the little lobby where you can get drunk with your friends and have cats feed you delicious foods. That was a huge missing thing in Monster Hunter Wilds, and it's coming. Mm-hmm. I'm stoked to the max about it. I'm very happy about that. We're also getting a new monster that they're adding in the game, or it's a returning monster, I should say, from previous games. And you can also change Alma's outfit, and there's going to be additional hunts and arena quests and events coming as well. So a lot of content. This is good to see, because I think I voiced this to both of you on separate occasions, that I felt like when Monster Hunter Wilds came out, that it wasn't quite finished yet. And it's good to see that we don't have to wait an extraordinary amount of time for them to push out the content that seemed to be missing from the game. And the fact that it's coming out just 1 month later, I can live with that. So I'm feeling pretty good about this update. How about you guys? How about you, Phil? I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think tactically it is pretty smart of them to like release the base game, let people like go through it, and then start to add these new hunts and newer monsters. A, it makes the game feel more alive, and B, it kind of gives you like a reason to come back to it after Assassin's Creed Shadows comes out, or after some new game comes to pull your interest. It's like, oh, well, you know what? Now it's easier to go play with my friends, and the cat meals are back. Fun fact about GGG, Paul, when you established GGG in general,
yes,
it was with cat videos making food from Monster Hunter World, correct?
Yes, it was. It was our first. I think we got like 1.6 million hits on that. So yes, there we go.
Paul knows what the people want.
So I want those videos. God damn
it! we need them.
We need that content.
Videos, Capcom, come on.
How are you feeling about it, Patrick? Is this enough to pull you off of Assassin's Creed and get you back into the wilds?
Maybe. I do like this stuff. This is the stuff in Monster Hunter that like excites me the most. Is anything that's like more like, hey, we're all hanging out before our hunt. I love the Palicos and all of their shenanigans. If you're playing with not speaking in feline, by the way, you're doing it wrong. Just putting that out there. So yeah, I am excited about that. I will probably come back, but it'll be like at this point now that I'm like, rolled credits and in the end game and all that, like Monster Hunter is going to be this like piecemeal game that I poke at gradually over the next however long, My friends, they're all so high rank now. I can't keep up with them because like when they hit a game like this, they just hit it so hard, and I just can't do that with a game like this. Like if it's got a story and I'm like, I want to find out where the story goes, I can lock in. But other than that, I'm like, I need a break. I gotta go play some Marvel Rivals and punch stuff as Hulk or something. I gotta do something else.
Sure. Yeah, I'm very much in the same boat. Like I got to high rank. Phil and I actually had a great session, playing in high rank, and now I'm just kind of like, yeah, I'll play it.
I did it.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think I'm hunter rank like
finished it.
15, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, I'm high rank now. That's what you're supposed to do, right? So, I'll probably do the exact same thing. Might come back to it periodically, or if my friends are on. I honestly, so this is a little shameful, but when I have played it by myself, I always SOS. Like, like, I don't want to fight this thing by myself. I don't know. Let some randoms jump in and kill this for me. Like, I mean,
that's what it's for.
Yeah, I'll participate, but like,
I don't. You're not just gonna watch.
Yeah,
go on. That's a fun way. That's kind of fun, like a way to do like a stream or something. It's like, I'm gonna SOS and not help. Just like,
yeah, I'm using the bow.
You make your character looking. You make your character look exactly like Nick Fury and just assemble the Avengers at the time.
Yeah.
And then you whip out the barbecue and just sit there and start grilling.
Oh my goodness.
I love that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think this is, for me, Monster Hunter World was a game where I played to the end and then I like stopped for a while and then I came back and the game was like, dude, we added so much stuff. Here's a whole like 6 end games. So I think you guys are spot on with the proper way to enjoy it, because it's one of those games where just about a year from now it'll be a completely different thing,
right?
And that's pretty great.
Yeah, I love how much they support it in the long term. Like, that's so cool. I don't ever feel bad about buying a Monster Hunter game, because it, like, they support it for so long with new stuff that I'm like, I know that if I come back to it, I'm gonna have plenty to play.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's true. Maybe I should just sleep on it for a while. We'll see. All right. So last up in the news, Wildgate has been announced from the former CEO of Blizzard. Although suspiciously looks very much like it's in the same engine that Blizzard uses. So the former CEO from Blizzard, Mike Morhaime, I hope I'm saying that right. He's got a new company. He's got a new company called Moonshot Games, and this is very much, to me, a Sea of Thieves in space kind of a vibe. On this podcast, I've talked a lot about Void Crew and the upcoming game Jump Ship that's coming out later this year. I think the difference between those games and this game is that they add the PvP element into it. It is initially player versus environment, just like it is in Sea of Thieves, but you can run into a group of other space pirates who are trying to pull off a job. And so very much Sea of Thieves. I like space a little bit more than I like pirates. So this might be more my vibe, but I have to say I do like the artistic, like, realism that Jump Ship has, as opposed to the cartoony outlook. This kind of, surprisingly, this kind of looks like oh god, what's that game that failed on PlayStation, Phil, that we played and we streamed on Twitch?
Oh, I'm thinking of Prey, but that's not it.
No, I think it starts.
No, not Prey. Sorry, keep going.
No, I think it starts with a D. Oh, I can't even remember it anymore.
Oh no, it's so sad. It's literally big memory hold. Yes, the game that everybody thought was too woke because it had
because it had a chubby character and it was an Overwatch ripoff. Even though Marvel Rivals came out, it was an Overwatch ripoff, and nobody.
Wow, it's so sad. You guys can't even remember.
I can't even remember. It
wasn't even that long ago.
Can't even. Can you remember it, Patrick?
No, that's what I'm saying. This is terrible. I feel so bad for this game. They spent so much money on it.
Oh my god.
They really did. And they had a pretty, like, their pricing model was $40 for the game. It wasn't, there was no in-game purchases. And then Marvel Rivals came out, and I think that's why I can't remember, because it just completely ate my multiplayer lunch.
Yeah.
I think this looks great. Like, if we get something that is, my problem with Sea of Thieves is that it's not technical at all. Like, you have to do a lot of things to make the ship work, but there's not like long-term advancement. There's not too much that makes it sort of like fun outside of the moment-to-moment gameplay. So if this can offer me something like that, but with a little bit more like development, I'm so in.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Patrick? Is this tickle your fancy?
I do like, I like these kind of games. I really enjoyed Sea of Thieves, but I mean, I'm also more of a space guy than like a pirate guy. I guess I'm more of a space pirate guy.
There you go.
I actually really like
Concord.
The look of this.
I just thought of it.
Concord, that's it. Yeah. Sorry, Concord.
Sorry.
I think this looks cool. I'll take this type of like artistic design approach over over Starfield any day.
Yeah.
Like that game, while technically a marvel in a lot of ways, people worked very hard on it. I can't stand how it looks. It looks so boring to me.
You don't like the NASA punk vibe?
I don't like NASA punk. I like more like Outer Worlds. Like I want something that's got some character and some color. Jesus Christ.
I think
there are colors.
I would like NASA punk a little bit more if they like made it, if they went in more on the punk side and not on the like just washed out colors vibe.
Right.
But to that end, actually it looks more like NASA Rave is the upcoming Naughty Dog game. Is it Heretic Prophet?
Intergalactic.
Yeah, that looks cool.
Yeah.
Intergalactic. Yeah. That looks like it. I think the thing that is exciting to me about space and in video games, because we kind of are in a mini renaissance. I don't know. There's a lot of space stuff coming out in the next couple of years between this, the other game that we were talking about earlier, Concord, sadly. But I think the fact that we're getting more like stylized takes on futurism and what that would look like, or what like being in space would look like, is exciting. And hopefully, until we get to the point where photorealism is like actually looks better than it did 10 years ago, this is the most exciting thing that I'm seeing.
Right on. Okay, well, we'll continue to monitor that as we get more information about Wildgate. But let's get into our main topic. Finally, Patrick, thank you so much for joining us. You went to GDC. There were a couple announcements at GDC this year. No big news drops, anything like that. We know that Nintendo is doing a Nintendo Direct next week at the beginning of April. That's when they're going to release some announcements. And we do have a couple announcements in GDC to talk about, but we would really like it if you just told us a little bit about the conference. I've never been. Phil, have you been to GDC before?
I have. Probably my favorite game conference that I've been to.
Okay.
Just because there's so much going on and so many people like that are there with interesting pitches, and like it's not just video games. I was standing in line and someone was like, "Hey, I made this game about baby ducks and we can play right now while we're waiting in line for something else." And I was like, "Let's go!" It was a lot of fun.
Right on. So was it a lot of fun this year, Patrick? Was it a good time?
Yeah, I had a blast. It's a fascinating convention because it's so industry focused in a way that's like, it's, because like it's like kind of the opposite of what E3 is, where E3 is like this big blowout party, or was, I guess. Yeah. Where it's like, here's all these announcements and here's all these things, and we're just like showing off the stuff we did. Mm-hmm. And GDC is so much about like, this is the community of the people that make games, and this is what we're capable of. This is our potential. Like, this is the future. These are the next steps. This is how we build the dreams that we get to explore. And that is so exciting to be around. It's sort of intoxicating as you're like walking around the show floor and talking to people, networking and going to like talks. You're just like, you feel games as an art form, just like gelling around your body, and you're just like so inspired. You just want to make something like immediately. Yeah, really enjoyed it. It's worth going, but yeah, I mean, it is very specific to like the making of games.
Yeah, the developers. So,
yeah,
and that's why it's called GDC. So, yeah, but you went to a number of talks when you were there. Were there any that stood out that were particularly fascinating or gave you that kind of creative energy that you found intoxicating?
Yeah, so I went to like 5 or 6 talks a day. Some of them, half an hour to an hour long. I am in games narrative, so most of the talks that I saw were related to game narrative and how, the tips and tricks of how people do it, what they think the future of it is going to look like. Some of the ones I really enjoyed were one led by Will Shen, who's a narrative designer who's worked on stuff like Skyrim, Fallout 4, big time RPGs. It's a lot about his talk was a lot about the choices you make creatively to really stand out, because the video game world is a lot of iteration and a lot of borrowing in a good way in terms of systems. But when it comes to narrative, that's the place to let's expand, let's be weirder, let's do something, write the game that only you can write kind of thing. So that was really great. I saw a talk on world building that was led by a few people. Anna McGill, for one, she was lead writer on Control from Remedy Games, and she's working on the next Cyberpunk game. Big fan of her work. And it was really that was with Kate Tremblay and Emily Short, and that was just about how can we take either be handed systems, as a narrative designer, and then like game systems, combat and whatnot, and apply that to building a world, and vice versa. What if we're building the world without having any system? So it's sort of how do you, when you jump into the game development process at different stages, how do you approach actually building a world that feels lived in, that has history, that feels like there's a lore there, as well as a potential future, so that the player feels like when they're making choices throughout the game, or not making choices, they just feel like their characters are affecting both the story, the world, and the people within it. So that was really interesting as well.
Right on.
That is a tough line to walk, because I feel like, as just a gamer who appreciates a good game narrative, you can sometimes play a game and feel where the two are very disconnected, and that disconnection is can draw you out of it. But it seems like it's really, like you're saying, if you come into development as it's going, trying to mesh those two when there's a whole vision for what the game is, that's super interesting. In terms of, did you see anything any events on the floor, anything that was super interesting or inspiring to you, just walking around the event?
Well, the main floor itself, there was a lot of AI stuff.
I bet there was. I wanted to ask you about that. Yeah.
So many booths of, tech people trying to sell their version of how to make a game without having to make it. So there's a lot of that, and I didn't really talk to any of those people because
good for you.
Yeah. They can go elsewhere. But there's a lot of
throw it in the trash in front of them.
Yeah.
Just do the Ron Swanson.
But there's also plenty of really interesting games. There's one of my favorite parts of the show floor is a whole section that's devoted to games played with weird controllers. So there's one where there's a cat controller that you have to pet the cat the right way without making the cat mad. And I saw a game where you're in a shower and you're trying to fix the shower by twisting all these knobs and using different tools in the shower. Some really creative stuff, people coming up with the most bizarre games. There's one where it's with a katana, there's the joke of just pulling out really quick, ching, and but they've still made a cut and then resheathed it. There's a game that's based on that. So you have this sheath with a katana controller, and you just pull it out a little bit to slice stuff coming at you on the screen.
That's awesome.
So, that's amazing.
That was my favorite stuff.
We need arcades that can pick that stuff up and give, because that's I feel like that's what arcades used to be. You got to play with game controllers that were outside of the norm. That's awesome.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's just so nice to see that kind of that creativity, especially in I don't know, in a world, in a market where I feel like a lot of that type of design is completely disregarded now.
Yeah, I mean, you might see it on like Steam with some indies, or and their what is it called, the green light thing that they do. But yeah, I just feel like that similar to many entertainment industries right now, there's just a lot of suits in the room with so many freaking projects. Like I'm still counting my blessings that Dragon Age Veilguard wasn't a live service game, although I did feel the remnants of that
Yeah.
dragging it down a little bit still. But it's like it could have been so much better if we didn't have suits telling us how to if we focus more on the art and less on the commerce.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's so difficult these days because like there's just so much money in games
yeah,
that it's impossible not to draw, that type of attention. And like you're gonna, as soon as you're making billions of dollars, the suits are gonna come running.
yeah,
And it's such a weird thing to navigate, I think, as a game dev to like, I don't know, try to figure out how to like within the confines that you're given by whatever studio upper people are giving you. Like how do you do something that's going to stand out and still like be like a good game?
right.
Yeah, yeah, that's surely difficult. I remember a specific memory going back to E3, like I think 2017, and there was like a Sony, basically a city built inside of the convention center, and then right
Yeah.
across the way Nintendo, and I was like, oh, this is too big. This is like there's so much money going on right here, and that was the first moment where I feel like I gained consciousness as a human as to how much money goes into games, because it's always seemed like such a personal thing. Granted, it's something that we all play together, but it's like, oh, this is just my little hobby. This is just my little thing I play in my room. But no, it is massive.
Yeah. Oh man, like some of the stories like I heard from devs like people talking about burn rates at studios that they were at before, where they're just like, yeah, it was like 2 million a week we were burning. And I'm like, that's insane.
That is insane.
That's just insane.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's the cost of like games. Like it's funny because I'll sit here and talk about like how we don't need to spend that kind of money on to make great games all day, but then I'm still gonna go play Assassin's Creed Shadows, which probably costs like
yeah.
the GDP of a small country. So
It's true. It's true. All right. Well, I think that's actually a good jumping off point to talk about one of the biggest announcements at GDC, which was the formation of the first video games workers union, kind of segmenting off from the Communication Workers of America Guild. Did you hear anything about that at GDC or attend any talks about that, Patrick?
yeah, they had a big booth on the floor, and they were very kindly reaching out to anybody who would like listen to them there. And then I also attended a talk where the head of that group was being interviewed by Jason Schreier from Bloomberg, and it's a really interesting talk to learn about that. It's hard. I don't know how I feel about it yet because I think it's like it's all such good intentions, and I'm a union man. I'm a member of a union. I support unions. Um, this one is like it's tough because like it's like a self-opt. I forget the term, but like you go to them and tell them that you want to join,
Okay.
but then
It's not a requirement,
and
kind of a thing.
it's not a requirement, and it's also not like it's sort of like you're joining to be a part of like a movement as opposed to like they don't have a lot of ways to protect you yet.
Yeah, I mean, but that does make sense with an early unions. Like they don't have
Yeah.
infrastructure yet. They can't, like, they don't have the funding to be like, oh, we're going to put you on our health insurance, or you have,
Right.
those kind of rights. So that makes a little bit of sense. I mean, I was relieved to hear that anything like this at all happened, just because the amount of layoffs there have been over the last 2 years. I feel like we've been doing this podcast for the last 2 years, and maybe once a month we would have a huge story of another company that laid off everybody, or they're like, oh, we can do this in AI now, and so we're eliminating all of these jobs and whatnot. I guess when you were talking to them or heard their talks, like, did they talk about any ways that they were trying to combat all of these big layoffs or combat AI or anything like that? Or was it just more of like, we need people to join so that we build strength so that then we can actually advocate for things that we need?
I mean, it is that, yes, they just need more people to join so that they can build their ranks and increase outreach. That's the biggest thing right now.
Okay.
But they also, like, their big power right now is kind of like the public shaming of bad practices in games, basically. Okay. And so it's like when like a layoff like that happens, it's more about putting the companies that do this in the spotlight so that they, you know, quote unquote, don't get away with it, you know, at least in the media.
And what are they pointing out as like bad practices per se?
I mean, yeah, mass layoffs without warning or severance.
Sure, yeah.
There's one story that was really interesting that he told. I forget the details of this specific project that he was talking about, so apologies if it seems a little hazy. But he was essentially talking about a game development team that decided to strike. They'd formed their own small union.
Okay.
They decided to strike work. The publisher then took the work that was being struck and outsourced it to a company in the Philippines. Mm-hmm. And then they got word, this team that was striking got word from someone in the Philippines was like, hey, I think that we're being asked to do your struck work.
Right.
And we don't want to do it. But, you know, we don't have a lot of power, so we need help. Mm-hmm. And so a representative from this union, not the new one, he immediately flew out there and went and, like, you know, after being threatened and apparently like held at gunpoint and thrown in a van or something, he like went and prevented this struck work from being done by this Philippines-based company that didn't really know, because that's what's happening right now. Game companies are like, okay, fine, strike, don't do this work.
Yeah,
we're just going to outsource it to somebody that doesn't know what's going on because it's all global economy.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to prevent stuff like
and
that.
A lot of NDAs in the industry. So like, a lot of people, unless they're communicating, don't know what's being worked on or what precisely.
Right. Sure. Yeah.
That's
so
crazy.
A big power of them is like the communication. So like when stuff like this happens, it's not a secret. Like it gets out, people find out, and then they can try to stop it one way or the other. But in terms of like if I was working at a developer, and I wanted to like form a union and start bargaining with management, like they can like help provide some like resources for like how to do that. But you know, they can't do it. They wouldn't be able to do it for us. They can't protect any of our jobs yet. You know, this is all still early, but like it's all in the right. It seems like it's on the right trajectory. You know, it's a good step in the right direction. But it's also been, you know, they started forming this organization like 7 years ago. So it's like it's been. Yeah, so this like launch of it, you know,
relaunch.
They're devs, so they want to launch it. Yeah. You know, it's like it's more about like we're now like they feel they're more equipped now to start really, you know, getting their roots out there. But you know, it's like it's slow going.
As someone on the inside of the industry, what do you think would be like conditions for success for them? I guess this is like kind of a union forming question, so if you feel like I don't know, that's totally a fair answer, but what do you think like would be signs that they are growing in the right direction? Or
how do you feel like that? Unfortunately it's the kind of thing where like the real work can't be done by them, just the way that the system works. They can be like supportive, and then they can help organize a bunch of smaller groups together as one. But like if you're at a company and you want to form a union, like you and the workers there have to do the work. And as somebody I went through this process back when I was writing for a website under the Gawker Media thing. we almost struck, and then we we had a group of people that like formed a union and a bargaining committee through the Writers Guild of America. They were like the supporters of like, here's how you do it, here's how you do it. But we had to do it,
Right.
and like actually get the union formed. And so that's kind of what they're doing. Like they're like the Writers Guild helped us. Like they want to be like, here's how you do it, here's how you do it, here's the resources, you know. But at the end of the day, you need a large group of developers at a certain, you know, at a specific company being like, we are gonna unite
Right.
and do this. Otherwise, it just doesn't happen.
Of course.
Yeah.
I, you know, I've been interested about this because kind of where I've seen the video game industry going is very similar to how the Writers Guild works or how SAG-AFTRA works, where it's like the industry is kind of viewing them as like contractors and not really employees, where it's like, we're hiring you for this game, you know, similarly to we're hiring you for this movie. But after that, you know, you don't work for Warner Brothers. You just worked on a Warner Brothers project kind of a thing.
You just worked on Space Jam: New Legacy.
Yeah. Well, LeBron's still doing all right. But the point being is like, I wonder if that's the direction it's going to go in. I have not loved the direction I've seen like SAG-AFTRA go in, especially after this last strike. And I wonder if they're going to take notes from how like SAG-AFTRA is organized or how the Writers Guild is organized. Did you get that sense at all that they were looking at other unions' models or anything like that?
I think they were looking at more like factory worker type things. Like they were basing it a lot more on like the Teamsters movement.
Sure. Classic.
And also looking a lot at like how the civil rights movement as well, like just about getting messaging out there and the way that you can be like effective at supporting a cause without, you know, necessarily drastic measures of any kind.
Sure.
And so I think, because I think it's tough with game development where it's like, one of the problems is right now is it's like there's all these like titles and roles that are kind of meaningless across the board, where it's like you could be like, this was my title here, but this is the work I actually did. And so if you go to a different company, then it's like that same title could be doing a completely different job because there's no standardization the way there is in like film and TV, where it's like, if you're a gaffer, you know.
I was the director of production. Everybody knows what the director of production is. Yeah.
And so I think that's one of the things maybe that they could start figuring out, because until we have like set definitions for what roles are and what they do, I think it gets really hard to like unify multiple like mini unions at different developers. You know, it's like it's a lot of.
That's a great point. I did not think of that at all. But yeah, definitely getting on the same page with something as basic as just vocabulary is. I feel like
it's like, oh, I'm lead programmer. Oh, well, I'm lead software engineer. Like, well, okay, are they different? I don't know.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I here's hoping that like Larian, or because they're a studio that is very behind their workforce, if they would get behind it, or like some studio that is like that is successful. Could get behind this. It's because it's something that we desperately need, because gaming, I feel like, is hemorrhaging talent because we pick up like just the nature of the industry, pick up people, let them go, and not everybody can hang on between jobs, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
So
it's unsustainable right now for a lot of people, and I think at the end of the day, it's going to be unsustainable for the developers and publishers as a whole as well, because like you said, you're hemorrhaging talent. Like people are having to walk away because they just can't maintain. And I think these companies are like, think they have like a trick in their back pocket. Maybe they're like, well, AI will help us out to fill in these holes or something. But like, I don't know. What I hope is that they have a bit of a reckoning where they're like, nope, we need people to make this stuff, and we have to sort this out because, like, we're falling apart.
Yeah. When the new Garfield action RPG falls apart because it was made completely by AI. Oh, sorry, I just got a
Amber Alert.
One of those Amber Alert. So good news, it might be coming for you.
Oh my god.
But yeah, no, whatever happens, because I'm with you there that I'm kind of waiting for the big AI thing to happen and for it to be a flop, so that the game devs go, or the suits go, oh no, we need humans,
Right.
I think it's starting to happen a little bit already. I think
Yeah.
AI is getting better and better every day, but I think already just like there's a quality that people don't like, regardless of what it is. Like, and there's a huge difference between like, I mean, this is outside of the fact of how these programs are trained, and how illegal all of that is.
How
but
it's all just theft, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. But like, I think it's sort of like I don't really like reading books from an author who's like not lived
that
like,
experience or anything close to it.
Well, or just like certain experiences.
Yeah.
Like if like an author was like someone that just like was bedridden and all they did was write books, like they could still write a good book. But then it's just sort of this like copy of a copy. It's just like they just took their favorite pieces from all the books that they read to make their book. And like there's nothing about their humanity, their experience maybe necessarily that's being in there. Like you can always tell when you read something and it's like a fight scene and like it's clear that person's never been in a fight or something. There's a quality there that I think is just like necessary. And I believe that's true in like all aspects of the art of game design.
Absolutely.
That's such a great way to put it.
Yeah, I saw a clip recently of somebody talking about AI. I think they were specifically talking about ChatGPT, and they were talking about how in its training that it really just reads things, and so it is not oriented in any way of the physical world that we live in, and so it's like, imagine, like ChatGPT knows how to ride a bike. Theoretically, but does it actually know how to ride a bike?
Right.
Like if you've just read,
but it can't ride a bike.
If you've read about riding a bike, does that mean that you know how to ride a bike? So it's
right.
Yeah, that degree of we'll see how it develops and whatnot. But we are over time, so we're gonna stop it there. But I just want to say thank you for joining us, Patrick. Always
thank you for having me. This was awesome.
Yeah, I hope you had some fun. This is what Phil and I do every week. We talk about games, talk about what's going on, talk about what we're playing, and talk about sometimes periodically important issues like the United Video Games Workers Union. So that's thank you for being able to talk to us a little bit about that. All right, so if you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and like our video over on YouTube. And if you're listening to the audio only version on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, follow us over there as well. We will be back next week for episode 72. I mentioned it earlier in the episode, but Nintendo is doing their Nintendo Direct next week. So we're probably going to get some Switch 2 details that aren't the Switch Can Fly, because that's all the information I got out of the previous video. So excited to talk about that.
Yeah, we don't know yet.
The Joy-Cons are now Jet-Cons, and they just
it's like a drone, and like you can just play standing, and it just hovers in front of you.
Wow!
Just staring at the Nintendo Switch 2. I'm so in.
Okay, all right. Well, we're gonna find out. We'll talk about it. So, all right. Good to have you guys. Thank you both for joining me. Peace out, everybody.